Hello and welcome to CKE 10,001's gaming channel. In this video we'll be looking at my 8 standby Data Live deck profile. In this deck build I run 15 level 0s, 12 level 1s, 5 level 2s, 10 level 3s, and 8 climax cards. So the first card we're going to take a look at are at the level 0s. I'm running 3 copies of Shido Itsuka. It has 2 effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from your hand, you can choose up to one of your opponent's characters, put it into their memory, and your opponent puts that character from their memory on any position of their stage. So this helps remove any lingering effects like power or minus soul, and it also helps remove markers. The second effect is you can pay 1, put this card into your waiting room, look up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 date or celestial spirit character from among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and put the rest into your waiting room. So this helps mill your deck, sets up for standby targets as well. I'm running it at 3. Then I'm running 3 copies of Kotori Itsuka. It has 2 auto effects. The first is when this card attacks, if all your characters are date or celestial spirit, you can choose one of your characters and that character gets plus 1000 power until the end of turn. The second effect is when this card is put into your waiting room, you can discard a card. If you do, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 level 1 or higher card from among them, reveal it to your own, put it in hand, and put the rest into your waiting room. So it helps you mill the deck and get your event cards, like the level 1 yellow event. Then I'm running 1 copy of Happy Incoming Message Origami. It has 2 effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from hand, you may reveal your hand. If you do, and if there's a climax amongst those cards, all characters in your opponent's center stage gets minus 500 power until end of turn. The second effect is when this card is placed on stage from hand, you can pay 1, discard a climax, and choose a climax card in the waiting room and return to hand, so a climax swapper. And I'm running 2 copies of Swimsuit Kotori. It has 2 effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from hand, you can look up to 2 cards from the top of your deck, put them on top of your deck in any order. And the second effect is when the card is placed on stage from your hand, you can pay the cost, which is pay 1 stock, discard a card. If you do, choose a date or celestial character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. Choose one of your other date or celestial spirit characters, and that character has plus 1000 power until the end of turn. Then I'm running 3 copies of the blue Toka Brainstormer. It has 2 effects. The first is when your climax is placed on your climax area, you can return this card to your hand. If you do, choose one of your characters, and that character gets plus 1000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So this is a good Brainstormer for standby climax. Then the second is the activate pay 1, rest 2 of your character's Brainstorm ability, and then flip over 4 cards from the top of your deck, put them into your waiting room. For each climax, search your deck for a celestial spirit character. So it's a tutor Brainstormer. Then I'm running 3 copies of the trial deck card, Confrontation with Humans Toka. It has 2 auto effects. They both trigger when they get placed on stage from hand. The first one, you reveal a top card of your deck. If that is a date or celestial spirit character, you put in your hand, then choose a card in your hand and put it in your waiting room. The second is when it's placed on stage from hand, you can discard a celestial or date character. If you do, you can draw 1 card. So this helps you set up your waiting room for standby targets. And then I'm running 3 copies of the yellow event card, My Little Shido. It has a condition of choosing one of your standing date or celestial spirit characters and rest it. If you do, then you can choose one of the following effects and perform it. The first is looking at the top 4 cards of your deck and choosing 1 celestial spirit or date character from among them and adding it to your hand and then discarding the rest. Or you can choose one of your opponent's level 1 or higher characters, and your opponent then chooses 1 level X or lower character in their waiting room and then exchange them, where X is the level of the character you chose minus 1 with this effect. And if your hand has 6 or less cards, you can choose a level 3 in your waiting room and add it back to your hand. And then I'm running 4 copies of Great Interest Kurumi. It's your standby target at level 0. It's essentially a 1/1 7500. So, and the condition is if you have 2 or more other date or celestial spirit character, it gets plus 1500 power continuous and auto hand encore. So you don't have to run this card at 4 copies if you don't want to. I'm just running that for my preference. But you can always add another Yoshino level 1 or a 4th copy of the Trial Deck 0 if you like. And then our other level 1 is School Uniform Toka. Also a good standby target at level 0. It has 2 effects. The first is auto. At the beginning of your opponent's draw phase, you can choose one of your characters, and that character gets plus 1500 power until the end of turn. And then auto during your opponent's turn, when your opponent's character becomes reversed, you can look at the top card of your deck and put it on top or at the bottom of your deck. So you can kind of stack your damage checks during your opponent's turn with this card. So it's pretty good. defensive card for blue. And then I have two one-ofs at level 1. I'm running a 102k backup, Toka Yotogami. Not much else to say about it, except for just a 2k backup. And the other level one-of at level 1 is Yoshino card. Has two auto effects. The first is at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, you can pay 1 stock. If you do, choose one of your date or celestial spirit characters and this card and exchange them as stand. And the second effect is when this card becomes reversed in battle, if the level of this card's battle opponent is higher than your opponent's level, you may put that character at the bottom of your opponent's deck. So essentially an early play beater that sends to the bottom of your opponent's deck. I'm playing two Kurumi backups. When you use this card's backup, you can pay 2. If you do, you can return all cards in your waiting room back to your deck and shuffle. So essentially prevents refresh damage. And then I'm running 3 copies of Under the Azure Skies Toka. It has 2 effects. The first is continuous. This card gets plus 1000 power for each of your other date or celestial spirit characters. And the second effect is when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you can look up to 2 cards from the top of your deck and put them on top of your deck in any order. You can use that effect on either player's turn, so it's really good for stacking, trigger checks, or blocking with. And I'm running 1 copy of Kurumi Tokisaki. It has 3 effects. The first is continuous. If you have 2 or more other date or celestial spirit characters, this card gets plus 300 power and the following ability. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put that character into your opponent's memory. The second effect is when this card is placed on stage, you heal 1 damage. Third is when this card attacks, you may pay the cost, which is pay 3 stock, discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, put the bottom 5 cards of your opponent's deck into your waiting room and deal X damage to your opponent. X equals to the number of class cards revealed amongst those cards, and you also get 2000 power. Then I'm running 2 copies of To Save Spirits Kotori. It has 2 effects. The first is continuous assist. All your characters in front of this card gets plus 2000 power, so good standby. And then the second effect is when the card is placed on stage from hand, choose one of the following effects. You can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and grab one of those cards, put the rest in your waiting room. You can choose a date or celestial spirit character in your waiting room and return it to your hand, or you can give all your characters 1k and 1 soul. Then I'm running 3 copies of the early play Toka. If you have 4 or more date or celestial spirit characters, this card gets plus 1 level in your hand, so it early plays. The second effect, it heals 1 damage. And then the third is when this card is placed on stage from your hand, if you have another date or celestial spirit character, it gets plus 2k until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then I'm running 4 copies of the Terrible Spirit Kurumi, which is your finisher. It has 3 effects. The first is if you have 2 or more other date or celestial spirit characters, this gets plus 1000 power. The second effect is when this card is placed on stage from your hand, you heal 1 damage. Third effect is Climax combo. When this card attacks, if Fearless Smile is in your Climax area and you have 2 or more other date or celestial spirit characters, you can choose one of the following effects and perform it. Your opponent puts all cards in their stock into their waiting room and puts the same number of cards from the top of their deck and back into their stock. Or you can choose up to 3 cards in your opponent's waiting room, return them to their deck, and your opponent shuffles their deck. Or you can discard 2 cards and deal 3 damage to your opponent. And you can use any combination of these effects. If you have all 3 copies on the board, you can mix it up if you want. You don't have to do the same effect for each of them. You just mix it up. That's why we're running 4. And then the last 8 cards of the deck are the Climax cards. I'm running 4 copies of Fearless Smile Standby Climax for the level 3 combo, and 4 standby Climax cards that are just kind of Brunt of Fury, just a blank standby. It's a standby build. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, check EncoreDecks.com and the link in the description below to see an overview of this deck build.